نفسه. شعب أراد الحياة فاستجاب له القدر.
Welcome back again. You're still watching us here on the Daily Debate. I'm very much delighted to have joining me in the studio this evening Dr. Heba Khairy, Metwaly, PhD researcher in Heritage and Museum Studies. Thank you for joining us, Doctor.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, let's talk more, Dr. Heba, about the history of museums, because it's important for people to understand why is it important for people to know the history of their civilizations and to put them in museums. Moreover, to focus on renovating these museums to meet up with the change of generations and technology.
So regarding the construction of museums, there is an important role of museums that can play, which represented in deepen the understanding and respect for our heritage and our identity, as heritage representing our identity. So how can I belong to an identity, or how can I feel that I am belonging to a certain country? Through my history, my civilization, knowing my heritage. So one of the most important roles that museums play nowadays is deepens understanding and raising the awareness about the ancient Egyptian heritage and ancient Egyptian civilization. So why it's important also to build museums for the reservation and the safeguarding and the studying of antiquities, of history, of how we can understand why our ancestors built this great and this glamorous civilization.
And what was their lifestyle like, and everything, and details about the life.
Yes, sure. And by the way, there's an important thing we have to know, that there is a continuity which has been continued through thousands of years from our ancestors or from ancient Egyptian to our modern Egyptian. Still now we have the same traditional handicrafts. Sometimes we have the same traditions and the life of lifestyle. So we are, we are their continuity. So museums play this important role. They connect the past with the present and the future. That's why it's very important to build a museum and to renovate museums.
Speaking of building museum, the biggest museum in the region, is possibly not in the world, is GEM. And there have been a lot of talks about that and anticipation for its opening, which was supposed to take place last year, except that the COVID-19 pandemic came and shook the entire world up. Why is this project one of a kind for Egypt and the world, and why is the whole world, they're shifting all their eyesights towards this museum? What's special about it?
GEM, as we know, occupies a very important position, not only on the national level, but as well in the international level. So worldwide is waiting for the opening of the Grand Egyptian Museum. Why it's important? It's considered the largest museum which is dedicated to one civilization, which is the ancient Egyptian civilization. So the museum will accommodate the largest collection of ancient Egyptian artifacts, more than 100,000 pieces of artifact. It represents a kind of a world-class museum, which will compete its counterparts from another international museums which are located, as Dr. Al-Ashhin mentioned, in Europe, in UK, in USA. So Egypt building a very important mega cultural project, which is the Grand Egyptian Museum. It will play a very important role regarding many aspects of Egypt. First of all, is reviving the tourism sector, as it is expected to attract millions of visitors annually. So the Grand Egyptian Museum will represent Egypt as a must-visit destination for tourism and a cultural hub for researchers regarding the Egyptian heritage and Egyptology.
I was just going to tell you that it's not just a museum. They're doing a lot of scientific sort of activities in there. There's the use of technology and the 3D sort of way of handling sort of speaking on what's going to happen from a tour guide perspective. And there's a lot of services, not to mention, of course, its location over the pyramids plateau as well. So that's another thing I want to talk about. Speaking of components, we do know that maybe the entire collection of King Tut is going to be there displayed, and that's one of the astonishing anticipate. Some components or monuments that are not on display ever is going to also be displayed there.
Yeah.
Let's talk more about the kind of components that are put, whether in GEM or in other museums. And from here, allow me to give you a double sort of question. The Egyptian Civilization Museum, and when they decided to go for a royal parade called a mummy parade, to transform into this museum in particular, that was another decision that was made.
And it was a great decision.
Yes, so let's speak about the components from all perspectives.
The Grand Egyptian Museum, it's more than a museum, it's a cultural and entertainment and educational institution. So the major components of the Grand Egyptian Museum, as you mentioned, the Tutankhamen galleries, where the complete treasury collection of King Tutankhamen will be displayed for the first time in one place since the discovery of his tomb in 1922 by the English Egyptologist Howard Carter. So more than 5,000.
Which, by the way, pardon me to interrupt you there, but the irony of it is that they're even educating children at school. My son is in 3rd grade and they were teaching him about Howard Carter. And it was all about Tut and the pyramids and the dynasties of, and it was very interesting to see ancient Egyptian teachings in the curriculum.
Yes, sure, and we are trying that.
Pardon me, I had no idea who Howard Carter was.
This is an important
until
role
I went
of
through
museums that you know, nowadays the studies of museums, you know, immersed education museum in education curriculums. So how can museum play an important role in educating our children? And one of the Grand Egyptian Museum components is the Educational Center and the Children Museum, which is dedicated for educating our children and educating adults about ancient Egyptian heritage and ancient Egyptian antiquities through the object-based education. So let's return to King Tutankhamen galleries. As I mentioned, they will be displayed for the first time in a space about 7,000 square meters.
All his collection, his entire pieces. Wow.
And it's worth mentioning that that the Tut galleries is already finalized and done. About 95% of his collection had been installed inside the showcases.
Interesting.
So, yes, very interesting. We have a great gallery which will compete for sure international museums. So we are displaying Tutankhamen treasury collection in a very modern way and a very interactive way, using the latest method of technology and interpretation used in museums.
I want to talk about technology because that is just really, really, really breathtaking. I believe that maybe one of the videos that have been circulating during the past few days over social media was the restoration of what one of the queens that was...
Queen T.
Yeah, Queen T. Wow, that was a piece of art. And you can actually really relate. And the irony of it is that she does look, she's Egyptian. I mean, you would see so many Queen Ts around Egypt. You know, those sort of, and it's really astonishing when you get to merge technology together that you're no longer looking at the mummy, but you actually see what this mummy looked like when she was actually alive.
Yes, and
is that going to be also reflected through this kind of use of technology over at the
GEM? Of course. Grand Egyptian Museum is considered a transformative and digital museum. Why we are saying that we are a digital museum? As we using the latest method of technology in integrating our artifacts. So you mentioned the reconstruction or face reconstruction for Queen T. We already done this within our galleries.
Was the only mummy I know that still has her hair restored.
Yes, very heavy hair.
Exactly. A lot of natural remedies being used there. There's something called the Solar Boat Relocation Project. And I mean, pardon my ignorance, but can you explain what this project is about?
It's considered one of the most important achievements that GEM is going through nowadays. Okay, so at first I would like to give a hint about Khufu's solar boat. It was discovered in 1954 by the Egyptian engineer Kamal al-Malekh, where he found two huge stone pits, and inside them was one of Khufu's boats, which is now Khufu's solar boat, and it was in the shape of dismantled woods. So the reassembling of the boat took about 10 years.
Wow.
Then they displayed...
And pardon me there to just pause you a little bit there. that was in the past. Does it take this long to restore things today with the use of technology?
Yes, sure.
It takes a lot of time.
Yes,
We got to see what tea looks like.
You,
that wasn't the case a couple of years ago.
To resample a boat, but it's a very huge boat. We are speaking about a 45 meters boat with a 7 meters height. So it's very huge. And by the way, Khufu's boat is the largest organic artifacts which remain nowadays. So it's a very important.
I believe also because these are very authentic, so you can't really play too much around with them because they're very fragile.
Yes, and one of our priorities, or first priorities of the Grand Egyptian Museum is to transport the boat while it's a very safe and protective environment.
Just like the mummies, breathtaking.
Yes, and maybe more
than that.
Yes.
Wow, can't wait to see what that's going to look like.
Because it's very huge. So the idea of transporting the Khufu solar boat was the idea of the General Director of the Grand Egyptian Museum, Major General Atif Muftah. And the Grand Egyptian Museum talked about 2 years preparation and engineering study on how to transport this huge artifact and authentic artifact. So GEM team from engineers and contractors and archaeologists made a great achievement regarding the safety and protection of the solar boat, as they prepared and protected and secured the boat through wooden bracing and a kind of safety packing for the boat. Then a huge metal cage was built around the boat. The boat will be transported as a one piece, not a dismantled one.
Wow.
Yes.
That's quite heavy, so we're going to wait and see what kind of...
Yes, I think the cage, the metal cage, while the boat is inside, it will weigh more than 120 tons.
Wow.
Yes.
And that's
why the Grand Egyptian Museum...
Oh wait a minute, the destination that it's going to be moved is not that far because GEM is located near Khufu's pyramid.
But speaking about a little bit long distance to transport such an important artifact.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, and
well, I mean, now I see it
piece.
Easy after we've seen the mummy being. So now we're seeing that being easy, but it's not easy.
By the way, it's not easy
That's
at
the
all.
thing. People see the final touch of everything that has been done, but actually lots of work.
A great preparation is done nowadays for transporting the boat. And GEM has brought 2 smart vehicles from Belgium, which had been brought especially for this project.
Wow.
Smart vehicles which is controlled by a remote control. And they very flexible and very smart vehicles that can protect the boat while transporting. So that's why it's very important.
So this project is headed by the solar boat of Khufu. And what else does it entitle? I mean, what else are we going to see as part of this project? Or is it all just about this boat?
Regarding the solar boat project, it will be transported very soon, inshallah. No dates had been confirmed till now regarding the transporting of solar boat or even the opening of the Grand Egyptian Museum. We have many achievements within the Grand Egyptian Museum. One of them was the rationalization of the total cost of the project, as the engineering authority was capable to rationalize the cost of the project. They rationalized about $770 million. So
wow,
it
that's
was a
thing.
great achievement.
Yes, Dr. Heba, I want to ask you something, because this is something that I get a lot of feedback from people on when we speak of this topic to anyone, even people who are not in Egypt. The fact that, I mean, and let me tell you that Queen T is really, I'm very inspired by her. So I would always talk about Queen T. I'm in love with her.
Yes.
So why I'm saying is that because people will also be interested to see, well, these people, how did they live? The natural remedies they used for themselves, for the alternative medicine, their jewelries. I know Mr. Walid was telling me about this 1,000-year-old sandwich. I believe that when they discovered a land, it was with all the everything that is. So what I'm trying to say is that is Grant going to give us this opportunity to live the lifestyle of these people?
We have 12 galleries will demonstrate the daily life aspects of ancient Egyptians. So we will give a great look and background regarding the daily life items they use, such as mirrors and combs and this kind of foods, mummified foods, by the way. So
and Queen T's hair routine is going to be there. Please tell me.
I need to know
I need to know what she was doing.
If you like,
please let me know that. It's very interesting because, you know, it's not just because we're Egyptians, but the fact that they were a civilization that was so advanced with everything that it took thousands of years for scientists to recognize what they used back then on everything: agriculture, scientific work, astrology, you know, you just name it,
medicine. Very advanced and very clever.
So it's nice to go back again to the recipe. It's all about the recipe.
Yes.
And I believe, you know, studying part of archaeology in schools or universities, this is a part of the lifestyle of how they live that you learn, right?
Yes, that's why we are speaking about the continuity. We'd like to demonstrate how we are part of these people. We still use the same things they are used. We still have the same lifestyle nowadays. So GEM is playing a great role on highlighting the daily life of ancient Egyptian, their beliefs, their funeral traditions, their legend beliefs, everything related to ancient Egyptian life and the ancient Egyptian community. And by the way, we are targeting engaging the local community with these concepts. So how we can deepen our feeling of belonging to this civilization. This is through our colors, through demonstrating this daily life stories, through giving them a highlighted
So if I was a cosmetics a shop or something like that, say, I'll make up the components of Queen T's hair routines.
Yes.
It's really getting to me. I want to ask you a question, please, Dr. Heba. The fact that the importance of communicating and having people to know what's happening inside Egypt. The way this huge golden parrot was displayed really echoed around the world. Everybody was speaking about it. It was just, it went viral, basically, and it was so good and so perfect that it was very amusing. How can we make use of such events to make them go popular? Because that's like $1 billion sort of advertising for Egypt as a country.
The promotion, you know, they succeeded to promote for Egypt as a touristic destination, and that made the people, we would like to come to Egypt. We would like to, even the local community or the local Egyptians, if you can ask about that, the Civilization Museum, Egyptian Civilization Museum, after the parade of the mummies, it received thousands of Egyptian visitors.
I'm going there this week, by the way. Yes, it's on my list. Yeah, I take my children there, so it's like the new form of outings now. Let's go to museums, and they're all excited about it.
That's how the Golden Parade highlighted the ancient Egyptian civilization, how it promoted for Egypt as a country for culture and heritage and antiquities. So it's all about the promotion, the good promotion for our civilization and good promotion for our heritage. So and GEM playing this important role, and I remember that even President Sisi, when he traveled outside Egypt, the first question people ask him, when will be the Grand Egyptian Museum will be opened? So it's a promotion. We have to promote well for our civilization and our heritage. We are occupying a very important position worldwide regarding the cultural and the heritage and antiquities and Egyptology.
Now, integrating young archaeologists and scientists and young tour guides into this, the new Egypt, the modern Egypt, especially in this field of tourism, how has that added up a lot to the renovation process of the entire ministry and institutions in this field, from your perspective?
I believe that recently we have a young generation which is already well educated regarding the cultural heritage and museology and the site management. And Minister Khalid Al-Anani was scared to build a new generation and a new
he's a brilliant minister himself, and he's so into everything. And I mean, I remember I saw how he was explaining to the president the opening of the Civilization Museum, and it was so perfect. He's like he knows everything inside out, blindly, even without looking at it. So
and he's
inspiring to younger generations.
Yes, and all the time he is employing just people beside him. So you will find most of his consultants and most
They're
of
all
his
young.
assistants are just from our generation. So this is something very great, which also refer to how come or how the new generation of archaeologists and Egyptologists and people who studied heritage and museology are very well educated and very qualified.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, our time is up. It was lovely talking to
Thank
you,
you.
Dr. Heba
Pleasure
Khairy,
is mine.
Metwaly PhD researcher
Thank
in
you.
heritage and
Thank you.
museum study. Thank you.
Thank
Happy
you.
feast.
Thank you.
And this brings us to the end of our episode of The Daily Debate. This evening, I'm Yasmin Bakir signing off. Thank you for watching.